hello, hello. Welcome to the Create the Life You Love podcast on the Chapters Network. I am your host, Georgia Woodbine, and the purpose of this podcast is to share conversations with other entrepreneurs, business owners, to provide you with content to help you with your business life, your personal life, to give you strategies, techniques, and ways to grow your business. Um, this is so important for you because sometimes you're going through things in life and you just need to have a know-how. You need to have someone to show you, to guide you on what you need to do next. So that's what the show is about. It's here to share the knowledge and empower you with tools to help you move forward and live in your highest potential and create the life you love, right? Because that's the name of this podcast, How to Create the Life You Love. So remember to like, remember to subscribe, remember to share this podcast, and to visit my website, www.georgiawoodbine.com. And at this time, I will be introducing our guest and giving you some information about him. Brad Magic Brad Giddum, I hope I'm pronouncing his last name right, is a part of America's hot new generation of business and product promoters. In sales and marketing, Magic Brad works both sides of the fence. He is highly sought after booth performer and spokesperson in his dazzling style of humor and special effects. He's also a trade show producer, and some of his credits include an impressive and varied list of trade shows, sales meetings, expos, product promotions. His clients include Marriott Hotels, CIMA Labs, Shroot Associates, Loss Prevention Services, Sales by Phone, Direct Service Transport, Rapid Graphics, Pelia Windows, and many, many more. Hey, Brad, how are you?
I am well. How are you?
I am fantabulous.
I love that word, fantabulous. I used to say phantasmagorical too.
Oh, I like that one too. I like that one too. I am so happy that I was able to get you to come on the show. We've interviewed in the past before and we had a great time and I said I got to get Brad on the show. So, why don't you share a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Well, my name is Brad. The last name is Goodham, but a lot of people don't know how to pronounce it like that. And some people, if they know how to pronounce it, they don't know how to spell it. So that's why I grabbed the name Magic Brad, because create that brand so I don't get confused with the Brents and the Brandons and the Bryans and the other Brads out there. But I started doing magic when I was a little kid. A guy pulled a quarter out of my ear and made it disappear, and it just fascinated me. And I started dabbling in that, and I've kind of always been entrepreneurial. I was the kid that would get candy and I would sell it at school at a profit, or I
Oh,
would
I
turn
did
our
that too,
garage.
Brad. I did that too.
Yeah, entrepreneurial. I turn our garage into a movie theater, and we'd play those old Super 8 movies on a sheet I'd hang in the back, or I'd do magic shows and sell Kool-Aid and cookies for concessions. So I've kind of
Wow.
always been entrepreneurial. And when I graduated school in 1975, barely graduated, but I did graduate, people said, you should get a job. So I
Hmm.
got a job for the county parks, mowing grass and emptying garbage cans. And I worked for
Hmm.
about 3 years. Then I got laid off. And I said, hey, where's my gold watch? I thought I had a job here. So I learned early that you can't really depend even on a secure job. You know, that job security thing, that's sort of a
Yes.
myth. And I
Hmm.
decided to be a full-time magician. And that's what I did.
Wow. Wow. So, I mean, that's a huge transition. Why don't you share with us like some of the lessons that you learned, like going through that transition in your career?
Well, also when I got the job in 1975, I used to go to this martial arts school. There's a Taekwondo school, and I used to go in there and watch all the time because I enjoyed watching it. I wanted to do that, but I didn't have the money to join. So when I got the job, I had the money, and I started taking Taekwondo lessons.
Hmm.
And what I learned in that is you can't fail if you don't quit.
There you go.
We used to have a slogan up on top. It was Jungsin Ildo Hasa Bulsong, which in Korean that means if you fill your mind with positivity, then nothing is impossible. So I just realized that if you fall down, you just got to get yourself up again, and
Hmm.
you can't fail if you don't quit.
I love that. I love that. You know, I like to think of life as you being in a garden, right?
Mhm.
The garden is a metaphor for life, and a whole garden isn't created overnight, and neither is a dream life, right? So just as a garden needs constant tending, and so does your goals, so does your dreams, and it requires constant care and attention. So, like you going through this transition, I'm sure there were things that you had to really think about, like what action do I need to take to start this new career, and what are the steps that I need to take. And when you're planting a garden, you have to ask yourself, and your garden is basically your dream life, right? What
Mhm.
type of garden do you want to plant? What do you want to grow in your garden? And what is the purpose of your garden, right? What purpose
Mhm.
does it serve? And I'm sure with you, with being, doing magic, it's part of, you sharing your gifts and your talents to bring joy to other people. Why don't you elaborate a little bit on that?
Well, I like that you're using the gardening analogy. I use that a lot in marketing. That if you got to till the soil and get it all ready and prepared, then you got to plant those seeds in there, and you got to know what kind of seeds you're going to plant because that's the kind of fruit you're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
So when I decided to get into this magic thing, I knew that I wanted to work corporate events because that's where the money was and that's where the audience was. And there's a lot of corporate here in Minneapolis. We got General Mills, Medtronic, 3M,
Mm-hmm.
Pillsbury, Target stores, Best Buy Corporation. A lot of corporate is here. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where I knew this, those are the seeds that I wanted to plant. So I built a database of the businesses here in the Twin Cities. So those are the seeds that I planted in my garden. Then,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, the next part is that little sprout starts coming up, and you got to nurture that. You can't ignore it. You got to
Right.
water it and fertilize it, nurture it, take care of it, pull all the weeds when they come in there. And then
Mm-hmm.
eventually it grows up and then it bears fruit, and it's still not ready yet. You got to wait till the fruit gets ripe. And then when it's ripe, it
Mm-hmm.
falls off the vine. So I use that same kind of analogy, and I would I did a lot of postcards. I still do a lot of postcards because postcards coming up for my expo thing. I did a lot
Mm-hmm.
of postcards, and I would just mail these postcards that would nurture that relationship. And eventually, 3M would call me up and say, "Hey, we've got a company picnic for 3,000 employees. Are you available on August 14th?" I go,
Mm-hmm.
"Sure, I am." So
Mm-hmm.
that gardening analogy is, I agree with that 100%.
Mm-hmm. So what makes you passionate, and what gets you motivated about what you do?
Results. I love it when I get results, and that's part of the challenge with the gardening analogy because you plant
Mm-hmm.
that seed and you sit and wait and wait and wait and wait. But when that
Mm-hmm.
little thing pops, the little seedling pops out of the ground,
Yes.
yes, it's germinated. Now
Mm-hmm.
you got to take care of it, and you got to wait and wait and water, water, wait and wait, and then a little bud comes out. Oh my God, that's going to be fruit.
Right.
When you see that, that's what gets me going, and just having the faith to realize that it's going to happen. It's
Mm-hmm.
just you don't see it right away, but it's going to happen. So you keep mailing out those postcards, keep on those postcards, and eventually it grows.
Yeah, I mean, I think too, because we live in such a instantaneous society. Everybody wants things instantly. They want
Yeah.
this to happen like right away. They want, they think like if they do something, they're going to get instant results. And that's just not how it works in the real world. And I believe that the magical shift happens when you embrace a positive mindset. You know, you begin to attract a world of opportunities for yourself once you do that inner work, and once you vibrate on a positive level, then you'll start to see the fruit. Your life can shift radically for the better when you remove old habits and negative thinking. And I think for anyone going through a career transition, or going through a new job or a new relationship or anything new, it's all about your mindset. You have to believe you can do it. Like Brad said, you have to have faith, you have to believe, you have to trust that you have been born with this gift, right? And nobody can do this but you. And when you understand that, you stop comparing yourself to others and trying to do things the way others do it, because it may not work for you.
Hmm.
So, what would you say, like, one of the most significant turning points were in your life?
Um, it definitely was when my business was all going good. And then I was thinking, okay, I'm going to grow. And I brought on 2 business partners, which I would not suggest having 3 people in a company because it's like a 3-legged stool. You know, one leg goes out, you tip over.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this one of my business partners wasn't that ethical, and he was doing a little embezzlement kind of stuff, and he was
Wow.
talking, two sides of his mouth and everything, and it all fell apart in
Oh.
1998. Everything just collapsed, and I lost it all. And I thought, you know what? What's the point of doing all this stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Working, 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 and now there's nothing there. So
Right.
that's when I realized what happened is I ended up being kind not really homeless. I had a friend out in California that had a karate school that I did martial
Mm-hmm.
arts with, and had wanted me to come out there and help him with his events. And I says, I got a business to run here. So when my
Mm-hmm.
business was gone, I said, I'm free. I told my brother, you watch the house, I'm out of here. And I drove out to LA and slept on the
Mm-hmm.
karate school floor with a sleeping bag. And I realized that you don't really need that much to survive. We always think we need to have more and more stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't. So I learned that I could get by very, very simply.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was
I
another
think
turning point.
yes. I mean, I think in life, like we are resilient, and I think that we don't realize how strong we are and how we can overcome. And I think when you go through a period of loss of anything, it's painful, right? Loss of a loved one, loss of a business, loss of anything. It's like you have to start over. You start questioning like, what did I do wrong? How did I end up here? You go through that whole process. And I think, for anyone right now out there that's going through any transition in your life, myself and Brad, we can share with you that that's not where you're going to stay. That's just part of your journey. And when you can embrace that, you can go through the journey with less stress, less anxiety, and less frustration because you understand that this is not where I'm going to end up. This is just taking me to where I need to go. And the place of self evolution is once you learn how to simplify your life. That's when you evolve. Simplifying your life. What's simplifying your life? No racing, no chasing, no comparing, no competing, no reacting, to negative energy. No letting other people control your time, your thoughts. Not letting people distract your purpose. So when you are connected to your higher self of embracing change, whatever that change is, you learn how to control your thoughts, your feelings, and your emotions and not let it get out of whack to the point where you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do? How am I going to get out of this problem? How am I going to? Why don't you share, like, Brad, like how some of the things that you did to get, to transition at that period in your life?
Well, part of it was just the realization of, like we had said before, don't sweat the small stuff because it's all small stuff.
Mm-hmm.
At first, you're ashamed. I lost my whole business. I got a bankruptcy deal going on. I'm in big debt. I feel guilty that I can't pay these people back. And then you realize that I, other successful multimillionaires have been able to do that same thing. They were in trouble
Mm-hmm.
too, and they bounced back from it. So
Mm-hmm.
realizing that there is light at the end of the tunnel, and you just got to keep on persevering. And then when I came back to Minneapolis, I paid off some of my debts and stuff, and asked for forgiveness, and now I'm back doing it again. So I think that's another thing that it was a bit of a shock for me. What happened in 2012, where
Mm-hmm.
I was working with another business partner, and we were doing really good, but we are doing a lot, and it
Mm-hmm.
was stressful. And I had a mild stroke. It's called
Oh,
a
wow.
TIA, a
Wow.
transient ischemic attack. They call it a mini stroke.
Okay.
And it was just a 3-minute episode of talking funny, and my hand was weird. But I realized that that could have been more serious.
Mm-hmm.
And I walked into my office. I said, Rick, I'm going to resign. I'm not going to do this anymore. He goes, what? I said, I'll stick around until June, but I quit. I'm not going to die in this office. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when made me realize that all that work might not be worth it.
Right.
So I just changed things, and I don't take things as serious as I used to. And You don't have to grind and grind and grind and grind in that hustle thing. You just got to get in the flow and get in alignment. Like
Yeah,
you talked about, getting,
oh,
resonate. If you plant the tomato seeds in the garden and you're
mhm,
expecting strawberries, ain't gonna work.
mhm, so
Got
true.
to be in alignment.
Oh my God. I mean, I could totally relate to you, Brad, because for me, I went through a situation similar to you where not I didn't have a stroke, but I had passed out on my job. I was in a cubicle and was dehydrated, and all I remember was waking up in the hospital, and that job I was working 12-hour days. I wasn't happy. I mean, I used to go into the bathroom and cry every day, and I said to myself, like, after that happened, I had a choice. I said, do I want to go back to this job that's killing me? And stress can bring on physical illnesses. And so at that point, that was like my exit strategy. That's when I started to create the life that I love. That's when I wrote my first book. That's when I realized that there were other opportunities for me outside of that, and that I had to focus on my passion and what things aligned with my passion that I could do career wise, that I could get paid for. So I think that when you go through things like that, it does build you up, and it shows you that you are stronger than you know. You are smarter than you think. Once you're going through something and you have to figure out your way out, you realize that there are other ways of doing things.
Yeah.
Can you share with us, Brad, like three of your favorite productivity hacks for entrepreneurs?
Well, I like. Some people say that you can't multitask, but I think you can. Um, like when I make my coffee in the morning, it's
Hmm.
got to go in the microwave and get all warmed up. So I'm not going to sit there and wait for a minute or two. I hit the floor and do push-ups.
Hmm.
So I'm working out while my coffee is happening. So it's kind of like multitasking. It's just
That's
not
the first
sitting
time I
down.
heard that.
What's that?
That's the first. That's the first. I've never heard anyone tell me that they've done that.
Well, here's a better one. And pardon the visual, but when I in the shower, I shave in the shower. So what I do is I got a mirror in there and I lowered it down to chest level. So when I shave, I have to squat down, so that strengthens my knees. So
So
I'm
you're
doing a squat
exercising in
every
the
morning.
shower.
Huh?
You're exercising in the shower.
Kinda. I'm doing a squat while I shave, so I'm doing about a minute squat, and it strengthens my knees up. I'm 65. I'm really in good shape. I have all my teeth. I don't have any broken bones. I don't take any drugs. So there's that. And then as far as business and stuff, there's software out there that the internet is dynamic and always changing. It's
Hmm.
global. It's always moving around. Stuff is doing
Yes.
things. And there's a
Hmm.
platform called If This Then That. You familiar with that?
Hmm.
There's a it's got different things that it connects to. So it's if this, then it does that.
Hmm.
So I've got one hooked up to a thing called Weather Underground. So when the clouds come out, if the clouds come out, then tweet this. If it rains, then tweet that. So I got this automation set up that's kind of run by the weather.
Hmm.
It depends. And if it snows, if it rains, if it's cloudy, if it's sunny, and it happens by itself. So that's, I guess, would be a hack where I don't have to go on to Twitter and put something on there because it automatically goes from Twitter onto LinkedIn. It's just tying stuff up that let the weather do it. Oh,
Okay. What the hell is going on
we,
here?
we switched places. It's kind of like magic. I'm on the left side. You're on the right. Am I interviewing you now?
Can you hear
What
me?
happened?
Oh Lord, what's going on with this
I think it
camera?
was because we were talking about the internet and the internet
Yes,
got
the
mad.
internet. Can you hear me, Brad?
I can hear you, but you just look like a little white dot.
I
But the
don't
show
know.
must go on.
Technology. I don't know what's going on with my camera, but we're gonna just keep it going. Um,
Absolutely.
I'm not sure why my camera's off, but I'm just gonna keep going without my camera.
Can still hear you.
Um, as long as you can hear me. So, did you have another productivity hack to share, or did we go through all three?
Um, I think you just got to keep it going. You just have to have the discipline to get up and do it. I don't know how if that's a productivity hack, but sometimes it's hard to do stuff if you don't see any possibility of manifestation at the end of it. You just got to realize that even though you don't know what the outcome's going to be, it
Mm-hmm.
might not manifest the way you think it's going to manifest.
Right.
It might not be, you did a mailing out to all these corporate people and
Mm-hmm.
they don't call you. But what happened was they went to church, they talked to somebody that wasn't in corporate, and all of a sudden your phone rings because somebody else wants you to do a private party.
Right.
It isn't a direct thing. It goes out into the universe, spins around, and who knows. So perseverance, just keep the ball rolling.
Perseverance, that's it. One of my productivity hacks is meditation. Meditation has so many benefits. Like, it
Yeah.
keeps your mind free from all the inundated information you feed it every day. It sharpens your clarity, it helps you to gain focus, it gives you emotional balance. And it also enhances your memory and reduces stress. So meditation is something that's really worked for me over the years. Another one is positive self-talk. I think, like you were talking about earlier, when you have positive self-talk, it helps you to attain your goals, and it helps to encourage you, and it changes your perspective and reinforces positive thinking. Affirmations are one of the biggest things that I've ever done to help me. But there are so many things that people need to realize, that people that are successful, that they do. um, and I want to actually, go to another question on that on that angle. If you had one superpower, what would it be?
Superpower. Dun, dun, dun. What would my superpower be? Let me think here. I think it would be having crystal clear clarity in my communication.
Wow.
You know what I
Okay.
mean? So that when I'm saying something to someone, that they're not questioning like, "What do you mean?" They know exactly what I'm talking about. And
Hmm.
then when they're saying things to me, I don't have to ask them, "Well, could you explain a little more detail?" They just I just know exactly what they're talking about. So that would be my superpower. Is when
Hmm.
communicating, there's no questions. It's clear, crystal, and clear, crystal clear clarity.
I like that. I like that. Um, I always like to, because I know we're running out of time soon, but we always like to close out with my signature question. And that is, if you were to look in the mirror and see your younger self, what would you tell him?
I would tell him to invest in REITs. Do you know what that is?
No, what wreaths? Not wreaths like
REITs
you put on a
is
door.
REITs is real estate investment trusts.
Okay.
It's kind of like a mutual fund of real estate. So it's like commercial, residential, shopping malls, storage lockers, vacation homes, senior retirement, apartments, complexes, condominiums,
Hmm.
vacation properties. So it's hotels, hospitals. So it's a lot of different things in real estate. And the reason is that's secure. It's not going to go away like 8-track tapes did or like Blockbuster did.
Hmm.
Real estate's going to be around for a long, 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 long time. So I would tell myself, put some money into real estate investment trusts.
Oh, that's such a important thing, and I'd like to piggyback on that because I've been in sales for a very long time, and actually over COVID, I actually got my real estate license, and I think it's the best decision I ever made. I have a lot of other things going on, but that is so true. Real estate is so crucial. And I've been doing really well at it, and I mean, I wish I would have did it younger, but you know what? It's never too late. um, and one of the things I want to share with the audience is that you have to think about your life like a great big puzzle, right? You have all these pieces, you're trying to figure out what fits, where to complete the puzzle. And you know what? There are going to be times in your life where the pieces of the puzzle don't fit, and where you initially put them, and then it becomes more and more difficult to figure it out. So you have to get to a point where you have to make a decision whether to keep forcing the pieces of the puzzle where they don't belong or start over from scratch. And now you have this experience and you know which pieces fit and or don't fit in the puzzle of your life. So I like to use the puzzle because sometimes in life you feel like you're all over the place and the pieces are not making sense and things are not making sense and the people in your life are not making sense. But you have to be willing to start over again and take those pieces, put them all out, look at everything and say, okay, let me try another way of doing this.
Hmm.
So it's really, really important. And I just want to thank you, Brad, for being on the show. You're so much fun. I'm so happy to have you. I'd like to have you come back on the show. Thank you so much. We
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much.